Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Nick, honestly, I just want to start with you and the fact that you got a new phone. You are no longer sporting the iPhone 10 or 7 or 8. What did you have?
So I had the iPhone 10 for the longest time, and I had accidentally become like the poster boy of you could do this with any equipment. It doesn't matter. Your equipment doesn't matter. I think I talked about this on another episode. And it was just time. The camera quality was not great, but it goes to show that you can build your own audience or brand or business with whatever you've got. It is not about the equipment you have. I actually made a TikTok about this yesterday. It's all about providing value for people and putting love into what you do and staying consistent with it. But we were long overdue, so I upgraded from a 10 to a 14, and it's crazy the difference. It really is.
Yeah, I can't imagine how sad you feel without your little home button anymore.
It's true. I'm definitely there's a hole in my heart without the home button. Switching from apps just by swiping up, it's not the same. It's not the
Yeah.
same. I was probably one of the last people that had a home button. So I don't know. Maybe that's an achievement, or maybe that's just straight up frightening. But
I'm proud of you for getting out of your comfort zone.
yes, thank you. That's what it's all about is taking these steps to grow and do things that might not feel that easy. Let's get right into today's topic, which might be a little bit uncomfortable for some of you. This is oftentimes the thing that we lack in, and it's negotiating skills. It's knowing how to talk to people and convince them to take action on something, even if you have the right intention. It's not that easy. You might have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to negotiate and get someone to hand you money in exchange for a solution to a problem they're having, your business will fail. So it's one of those things that you have to learn and you have to get good at. So, Michelle, what are your thoughts on this just generally before we get into like the nitty gritty of negotiating?
Yeah, I think that when I started my business, since money was it was such a big deal to me. Like even $1,000 was a big deal to me. I forgot that negotiation is part of business. And it's really important that we are flexible and open to it because there are amazing opportunities that can happen when not only we're open to it, but whenever we ask for it, whenever we bring it up, because you never know what the answer will be unless you actually ask. So I think that it's a huge important skill that is essential. Even with the best intentions, you want to be a good person, you want to have great intentions, don't offer something that you can't follow through with, but it's like negotiation is crucial. It's very crucial.
Yeah, it really is. I think this skill is one of the most important skills in business, because if you know how to negotiate with people and get them in the door and transact money, it's a whole different skill than delivering on what they paid for and
Mm.
making sure that they're actually getting their money's worth. But if you don't know how to get them in the door, you're never even going to have the chance to deliver a solution to those people. So I know we covered this briefly, but when I first started selling my 21-day mental reset program for $50, I couldn't get anyone through the door to pay $50 for this and 3 coaching calls, which now I look back at that and I'm like, that was coming out to like $6 a call or something silly. It was like, and I couldn't even get people to do it. But then I got my reps in and I started hearing from people, why are they not buying this? And sometimes people lie as well. And they're like, oh, I can't afford it. And I'm like, I know you have $50, so there must be something wrong with my negotiation strategy, which is another important thing too, because it's kind of hurtful when someone like lies to you and they're like, "Oh, I can't afford that," and you're like, "But I know you can." So you have to look inward and be like, "What was poor in my pitch? What did I not do that I should be doing?" And not long after, couple months after, I was selling that same thing for $750 and people were like jumping at me for it. So if you know how to negotiate, you can explode any business. If I lost my business today, I wouldn't be worried. I would just start a new one. I know how to sell stuff to people, and I would just find another way to solve a specific problem, and I would be okay. So, Michelle, what is your experience like going from like beginner negotiator to now expert?
I think it's important to remember that negotiation also has a lot to do with what you're marketing and communicating. Like, what is it that you're offering? Because that will tie into whether or not somebody thinks that they can afford it. Because if they knew what your reset program could offer, they would run to it. And it's almost like a lot of people underprice themselves. And for me personally, if I see 2 products that are similar, I will typically go with the more expensive one because I'm like, there's a reason they're pricing that product more of a value. Like, it's higher in value, there must be a reason. And so it also goes into negotiating. If you're gonna start high, you're gonna end up at the end a little bit higher than if you just started low and somebody won't take you as seriously.
That's a great point. Your price implies a ton of value. So when I started charging more for the same program, people were looking at it like, "Oh, this must be pretty good." When it's a $50 thing and I'm making all these big promises about how much it's going to help them because I had tested, I had done my free testing and I knew this product was helping people. So then I was shocked when I couldn't get people to pay for it until I raised my price. It's such a backwards concept, and it also goes into your negotiation skills as well. So, a little tip for beginner negotiators, this helped me out so much when I was getting started, is making a sales presentation and getting really good at that. Even if you don't use it, just rehearsing it so you kind of know the steps and what you're going to talk about when you're on the phone with a prospect. But I actually created real sales presentations for myself. And then I got really good at that presentation. I could pull it up right now, and I know I can get someone to send me $750 for my 21-day mental reset program still. Because after you go through it a couple of times, you will uncover why people are not buying, their hesitancies, right? Do I have to talk to my husband or wife before I make this purchase? And then you realize, and it's like, okay, let me make it a thing on my calls and say, hey, if you're not the decision maker monetarily in your household, make sure that person is here for this call. Or I also had like a little guide that I would send and be like, because usually women make more purchasing decisions statistically. So I had more calls with women than men. And so I would make them like a little thing to send their husband that's like, hey, honey, like I bought this expensive thing, but it's going to improve my life and my relationship. And I didn't have time to consult you. And I hope you can forgive me for trying to better myself. And it was this nicely written thing. And I was like, I was learning what are people's hesitancies and objections and how can I counteract them, not to like exploit them, but to make sure that this is not a reason they don't make the purchase. So that was a couple of things that I learned that changed the way I negotiated.
Yeah, and I know that you have more of that business side, and I'm coming from a perspective of UGC and content creation. So even with a brand, if a brand wants to pay me $400 for something and I charge way more than that, what I can do is to get them to the price that I want, say it's $1,000, instead of one post for 400, I need the 1,000 to make it worth my time. So what I will do is I will negotiate with them and tell them, "Okay, well, in addition to this one post, I will also post on this other platform. I'll create a story. I'll do 3 product placements." And I add more value to what I'm offering to get them to the price that I need to make it worth my time. And I think it's important to always think outside the box in that aspect. Like, what you did was totally thinking outside the box. Like, you're finding roadblocks, like the husband not being there, and then you're making that roadblock go away by prepping ahead of time. It's awesome.
Yeah, and you said something so smart about bonuses and including them. It makes me think back to Remember the Ninja Blender commercial? It's an infomercial, so I don't know if you've seen it, but it's old and it was like one of the most it was like the second highest grossing infomercial of all time or something. And it was like for that upside down blender, and you stick the thing in and you twist it and it blends everything up. And they were selling that for $100. And then they were like, but as a bonus, we'll give you a second Ninja blender. And as a bonus, we'll give you our three-piece different bottle set. And there were like 100 different bonuses. It was crazy. And these bonuses are just a psychological thing that will help when negotiating. It's so much more valuable than if they just said, hey, for $100, you get our two blenders and all of this stuff and this
Mhm.
30-piece set. Instead, they're like, $100, you get this blender, free bonus, extra blender, and it's like a joke almost, like how many extra they're like, and this, and this, and this, which sounds so dumb. But when you phrase things that way and the bonuses outweigh the value of the original thing, it makes their purchasing decisions so much easier, especially if they're a one-time bonus. So there's so much like nitty-gritty stuff you can get into, but bonuses themselves, that's a perfect example, Michelle, of like you said, how you can use them to get more money out of your prospect or to just deliver more value to them and make sure that they actually decide this is what I need. I want to give you my money and do this.
Yeah, to make it worth their investment. You know, you want brands to get a return on their investment. And so it's important that you do that. But the psychological thing, even on top of bonuses, it's discounts. Like, I don't know what it is, but knowing that something is discounted and communicating that, like even having this is $300, but that's marked out and right now it's 199, that will just psychologically make more people buy it. Or telling a brand, I typically charge this, but I'm going to give it to you for this one time because I'm really looking forward to working with you. And working it out like that makes people feel valued. Again, not trying to say it in a manipulative way or lying, but more so in a way of like you're showing them that you really are willing to set aside a little bit of your monetary payment to have this opportunity. And I think that shows that you care, and that flexibility is crucial. It's just really important that you're always flexible in that way.
Yeah, another really good point with the discounts. Like you're absolutely right. It's these little psychological things that we do that help get your prospect over the line. And you said a perfect thing. It's not to exploit them and manipulate them, but you really do need these skills to get the person over the line and transact money. And then it's on you after to make sure that you're actually providing the value that you said you would, so that it wasn't in a deceptive nature that you got them to do this. But you need to have the skill of getting them over the line. I do discounts all the time. If I'm about to close somebody and they're kind of on the fence, I'll be like, and look, I'm really excited to work with you. I know we're going to be able to solve the problem and the pain point that you previously mentioned to me. So if you sign up today, I'll give you 10% off. And something little like that is enough for them to be like, you know what? Yeah, I was probably going to do it anyway, but now I'm definitely going to, because they're saving a little bit of money. But we do these things with the right intentions. Be sure to test your products first. Make sure that you actually know how to solve this problem for people. Don't promise people something that you don't know you can deliver on. Test your products rigorously.
Yeah, I don't ruin your reputation for money. It's just not worth it. Don't be deceptive. Always tell the truth. Always under communicate but over deliver. Like undersell yourself. Undersell. What is that word? Under something.
Um,
You just
oh,
said
okay. I think you're going to say like under promise and over
yes.
deliver.
Under promise and over deliver because you will stand out. Your expectation that you are communicating to them to have the same expectation is great to be on the same page. But when you over deliver, oh my gosh, you are going to be at the forefront of their mind for future things coming out. They'll be bought into you as a person. You're trustworthy. And I think that is honestly the most important monetary thing you can have is being trustworthy because then they'll keep coming back. And I think that's huge. Like, what is it whenever you have the same toothpaste over and over for many years, you're a loyal customer, right? Like loyalty is important. So always be a person that is worth having loyal customers, clients, prospects, brand collabs, whatever. Like, be a loyal person, truthful. I think that I've said this so many times, but that to me, I just feel like if anybody ever gets anything out of our podcast, be a good person. What goes around comes around.
That's a really, really important thing to say when it comes to business. It's dicey when people are paying you for stuff. It's dicey because there will be times in your business where someone pays you for something and you fail. You fail to deliver what you said you would. But if you're a trustworthy person and you find ways to make it up to them in the context of a brand deal, maybe you do a really expensive two-post deal for a brand, making content for them, for their account, and both of those flop tremendously, and you really made a big promise to them. If you're the type of person that will make them another post to try and make up for it, that brand is going to look at you and be like, this is a trustworthy person. And they'll probably come back for more, especially if you talk about like, and you're honest, you're like, hey, look, like, here's where it went wrong. Like, this is why it went off the rails. Here's what I'm going to do to make it up to you. And you build trust. Even if you fail, mistakes happen. Sometimes it's just inevitable. But if you're trustworthy, the lifetime value of each of your prospects will go through the roof. I have so many people that used to work with me on my mental reset program that just loved working with me. And when I shifted focus a little bit towards business building, they're just crawling back out of the woodwork and they're like, hey, I didn't even know I wanted to start a business, but like, I know you do that now and I want to work with you on this. And I'm like, it just goes to show that like, if you're trustworthy, the lifetime value of each prospect will be higher because of your good intentions and going above and beyond.
Yeah, that just goes back to standing out. Stand out among everybody. A lot of even I go back to products because it's just the easiest reference, but a lot of products are the same. A lot of chapstick brands are the same. But what makes Burt's Bees better? What makes these other big chapstick brands that charge a little bit more? What makes them be able to charge that more? It's the same ingredients. What is it? They're promising something more than what others are. They're not just doing one and done things, just trying to get the ingredients on your lips. They're literally like, we're going to give back to this. We also use this that helps the bee foundation. We also, they're communicating and adding more value. But I think that it's important to, you said it, to care about everyone you work with. Like, yes, we talk about these brands or whatever, like they're not a name that we think of whenever we're talking about them, but caring about people, having the what is it called? Whenever you care and you're just like integrity to be like, these didn't perform well. I really loved working with you. I'm going to do one more. Like that's showing that you're going out of your way because you care. And when you care, that's what people want. People care about how much you care about them, not how much you're doing in your life that has nothing to do with them.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And there's a test that I like to do to see if I'm doing this properly. And I don't know who came up with this. I get so much knowledge from so many people. I didn't invent this, but I love it. I like to look at my products and look at them and say, if I had to charge 10 times the price, what would I do to deliver 10 times the value? And I will implement all of those things, but then I will go back and charge the original price. And it makes it so much easier to get prospects across the line because then they're going to look at this investment. Like when I was charging $750 for my 21-day mental reset program, I was also giving them a free consulting session with my personal financial advisor. And I was giving them a $750 discount to my next program. And like doing all of these things, I was handwriting them a letter as well. I would handwrite each person a letter, like thanking them for putting their trust in me and think about the trust that comes off when I did that. So all of these things combined, when they paid me $750, I wanted them to feel like they're getting $7,500 worth of value.
Wow. That's so true. And what you just said reminds me every time I get a PR package or like a brand sends me something and they have a little card in the box with a handwritten note to me thanking me for taking the time to try their products or whatever. And it's like my name and their name. And it just, I am like loyal for life because I'm like, you took the time, you care about me. You don't just want my content that I'm going to create with this. Like, you chose me. And that just makes me feel so special. And I think that that's very important. Not saying you should go handwrite a letter to every single person, but like
Right.
that that little bitty 1-minute act can go such a long way.
It's so true. Yeah, I did have to do away with the letters eventually because I wasn't like it wasn't like a cute little note card. Like I was filling a page. I was filling a page for these people, and yeah, you're absolutely right though. That's so funny. Of all the brands I've worked with, I've always wanted one of those like personalized notes, and I haven't gotten one. Even though I get great stuff from them, like sometimes they'll send me extra products or whatever. Sending a personalized note is a really good trick, not even a trick, a really good tool in any business to build that trust. You said it perfectly. Like it made you feel something specific. That's probably a great way to get people across the line as well. If you have their address and maybe you almost got them to purchase, but like at the last minute they got cold feet, that's a really good way to show your intention. It's not the same as if you call someone and you're like, "Hey, like I know you almost bought this, like just wanted to kind of see why and like what I could do to make you feel better and make the purchase." Like that's a little salesy, and it will actually lower your trust with that prospect because then they're going to think like they just want money out of me, not to solve my problem. So if you write them a letter talking about how you know you can solve their problem, and like it's just going to work so much better because you're trustworthy.
I agree. And I think it's important to also think about if you are working with somebody or they did buy something from you, to keep that communication and relationship going. So I know that whenever I sold my first house, our realtor, even though I was literally moving states, brought over this huge like gift basket, and she sends me cards every holiday with like a Starbucks gift card. She sends me stuff still. I'm never going to live in Louisiana again. And they are such an amazing couple that they are just doing it for their good intention. And it's almost the same thing as if I'm delivering 3 videos to a brand, I'm going to do 2 more. I'm going to put my watermark on them, and I'm going to tell them that, I've done this because it was so true. Like, there's this one brand I worked with, and I loved working with them so much that I could not stop thinking of ideas and creating content. And so I told them, I went ahead and made 2 more. And if you want these videos, like, I will definitely give it to you at a discounted rate because I would love to continue working. And it's just like keeping that open line of communication, whether you're a realtor, whether you're selling online products and you have more coming out soon, like you did, or if you're creating content for brands, like going above and beyond, continuing to stay in connection, communication is something not a lot of people do. But you're listening to this right now, so you're going to be doing this because you are going to stand out and you're providing more value so you can charge more for the value you're providing.
I feel like we could talk all day about just the many ways to go above and beyond and build that trust. And what you did there too for that brand is you kind of addressed like what's going to be one of their fears is that these posts aren't going to do well. So you've given yourself more at bats and you've built more trust with them, and you've also made more money in the process and built a ton of goodwill with that brand. So like knowing what your prospects fears are and going above and beyond to address those fears, whether it's after they've already decided we're definitely working with you and the ink is dry, as well as before they transact the money, knowing how to identify your prospects' fears and objections and hesitancies, the things that scare them, that will make you more money than anything in the world. Like if you're about to work with a brand and that brand doesn't have a ton of budget, maybe that brand has $500 in their marketing budget and they're afraid to give it to you for one post. What if you just what if you just threw them a bone and made 2 posts for them? And now because you did 2 posts, maybe the second one goes viral a little bit and makes them some more money. Guess who now they love and trust and are coming back to with this extra money and this amazing new opportunity Ooh, that leads me to a really good story. I won't say his name. Hopefully, he doesn't mind me sharing this. But I had this prospect that I really wanted to help him build a business. He's such a handy, smart guy, and he has so much going for him. But he's been getting crushed financially. He's got all this debt, and he's got no time, and he was just struggling so much. And after my initial sales call with him, I kept in touch. We had three more calls for free where I just provided him a ton of value, just helping, trying to get him out of that situation and tell him what I would do, how I would start this business. He wants to flip furniture and do things like that. And I was building him up. And then we just kind of lost contact. And I was like, you know what? That was good. I did the right thing. And he reached out to me the other day. He recently came into about $300,000. Did I tell you this, Michelle?
No, that's amazing.
So he
Whoa.
reached out to me and he said I was one of the first people he told about this because he was so excited, and just we built such a level of trust because I told him specifically. I was like, "Dude, I'm not after your money. I truly love helping people do things like this. If you can't even pay me, like I still want to have a couple of calls and help get you out of this situation." And now guess who I'm working with now?
Wow.
Because of the trust we built and the amazing experience that he had by me just dedicating a little extra time to build that trust and that value and show him like what I can bring to the table. So it was like the coolest thing. I got chills like 3 or 4 times on the phone talking to him when he was just explaining. He was like, "Dude, you literally helped me so much. Like, I wanted to just give up on all of this." And it was just this beautiful thing. And the moral of the story: lead with value, build your trust with people, work on addressing their pain points and hesitancies, and the good things will come your way.
I love that you didn't just accept no for an answer. And I think that it's important to give people value, whether or not they're going to give it back to you, because you reap what you sow. Like it will come back around to you. And it's important to follow your instincts. Like it sounds like you had this intuitive instinct to be like, I know he can't afford it right now, but I want to be there for him. I want to help him. And you had three free calls. And then look at y'all's relationship now. I think that you followed that, and that takes time to build. It does take some time. Like it took me a year to actually feel confident with knowing what was worth my time, what was a waste of my time, when to negotiate, even how to negotiate is something that I had to learn, and I did it very poorly in the beginning. But those times whenever you do say yes, even though it might be below your current rates, because it's not black and white, you never know whose life you might be changing. Like you helped that guy so much. And I think that is worth more than if he paid you $10,000. Like to me at least, I think that feeling of knowing you're helping is so important, and it's just so much more fulfilling in my opinion. So I just think that it's nice to have flexibility and being open to listening to your gut instincts in every single potential sale that you will have, every one of them.
Yeah, you said so much good stuff there. We got to break those down some more. Uh, Covering that last one, like the fulfillment of it. I mean, how many times, like, you're right, like, he didn't transact any money, and we just had this chilling conversation about, like, how much he helped me, and that feels way better than when someone pulls out their credit card. Way, way, way better. Like, yes, we need money to survive, and it's a tool to buy food and shelter and water and these things, but there are a million ways to make money. There are not I guess there are a million ways to help people too, but we always focus so much on making money that we don't go out of our way to do these things and help people. Speaking of which, one of the things in my mental reset program, I think maybe one of the most impactful, I would have everyone every single day journal and write down something they did for someone else with absolutely nothing in return. And that, weirdly enough, gave them the biggest return on their happiness and how good they were feeling. Because, yeah, we could do all these self development things that make us feel good, but there's not much in life that feels better than genuinely helping another person out.
I agree. It's like when I used to volunteer, I genuinely wanted to be there. I said this in episode 2 of podcast 2. I worked less hours at my job. I got paid much less cuz I literally wanted to be there helping people. And there's just no match to that. Like there's psychology behind if you're feeling sad or depressed or you're like in your head or overwhelmed, go do something nice for someone else. Go do it. You will literally have a transformative healing in your soul. And I know that we're talking about making money, but it kind of goes hand in hand with it. Like, if you are just focused on the money, focused on what am I getting from this all the time in a monetary perspective, you're totally forgetting we're humans. We're here to help each other. We have the gift of communication, and we can use our gifts and talents to help others. Like, for example, my housekeeper, she started a business and I wanted to help her grow it. She's in Los Angeles and she did not know how to make business cards. I built her a brand kit, I built her a website, I built her social media accounts. I created social media posts all for free because I saw this person who has a family to take care of, who went out of her way to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, I know how to do all these things. I'm going to go add value to her. And yes, I do charge other people like 10 grand for all that. But just seeing her every day and hearing from her and seeing her family grow up now, it's been a couple years, like that makes me so happy. And I think that we should always be open to those things.
I love that. I love that. Those were two really good stories about helping someone for free and like the return on your gratitude and fulfillment. That's so good. That's why I teach yoga classes too. Like it was really expensive becoming a certified yoga teacher, and I'm fully comfortable with the fact that I am not going to get a massive financial return on that. You make like 30 or 40 bucks to teach a yoga class, but I teach every Wednesday night when it's Wednesday when we record this. So my Wednesdays are extremely fulfilling, providing value to all of you listening to this. And then after I go prep my flow and my dharma, which is like the nice things you say at the beginning and how you tie it in at the end. And it's such a fulfilling day of the week for me that I look forward to it more than maybe on Monday I made a bunch of money, but I look forward to my Wednesdays. I look forward to having these conversations with you, providing value to our listeners, and then going and teaching yoga and doing something. It's like the most selfless thing in the world because you sacrifice your own experience as a yoga teacher to make sure it's amazing for the other people. Oh, it's just the best. But I want to jump back before we wrap things up. I want to jump back to how you mentioned like getting your reps in when having these negotiations. Chances are, if you're listening to this and you've already tried this a little bit, chances are you might feel like you stink at negotiating. And I promise that is just part of this when you get started. There are lots of things you can do to try and prepare yourself well for your first ever negotiation. Make checklists, prepare before discovery calls, whether it's with a brand or a prospect or a potential customer. Do your homework and prepare, but just know that it's going to take a little bit of time and you need to get your reps in and see like what went wrong here, what are my prospects hesitancies, pain points, objections, fears, all of these things. Learn and understand these and just know that it's something you're going to get better at, and you may lose the first few people. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm smiling and laughing because it's like that's almost part of it. You almost have to because you have to learn. And the way to learn is to get uncomfortable and make a mistake. And then you grow and then you learn more. And it's like it goes back into the earning and learning, earning and learning. Like, yes, you might be earning and then now you have to take a step back. Things out of your control are happening and you're back to learning. And it that sucking at things in the beginning is part of it. I think that's like kind of the most beautiful stage because then one day you'll look back and be like, wow, remember when I was horrible at making videos or horrible at negotiating? And it's just so sweet to see how far you can go in life once you really do things afraid. And oh, I know we were talking earlier about adding value and doing things for free. The reason I think that's so important and the reason we talked about it for so long is because those times whenever you feel defeated, whenever you get no's, whenever things don't seem to be going your way, the best thing you can do to take your mind off of everything that went wrong and trying to talk yourself into still being confident is to go do nice things. I think that's a huge part of it. It's like do things afraid, suck at it, keep doing it, do nice things for people so you stop thinking about how badly you sucked at it and then keep going. And then one day you'll be like, "Wow, I'm pretty good at this right now." And you it's kind of like a cycle. You have to do all of the things and always be a learner, always be a beginner.
Before we wrap things up, the last thing I want to circle back to is when you talked about being intuitive about who you work with, making sure that they're worth your time. And the reason I want to jump back to that is because it's so important. When you start your business journey, there are people that are going to try and throw money at you for things that are unrelated, or they're going to be, they're going to be a total headache and it's not going to be worth it. So you need to be a little bit picky about your prospects. Like I was being picky with mine when talking with this amazing guy that didn't have the money for this. I stayed with him because I was like, look, maybe one day he will or maybe not, but it's the type of person I want to work with. People reach out to me all the time that I know would be a total pain. And I'm like, look, unfortunately, like I don't have any space right now or spots or whatever the case may be. So you really do need to be selective, especially when it comes to brands.
Yeah, because some brands are even their product can be very difficult to work with. If it's a 10-foot surfboard or something, like that's just going to be so difficult. And so you need to be realistic about what you can provide and negotiate with brands in a way that whatever they're giving you is going to be worth what you feel is the time that you're going to be put towards whatever you're doing, creating content.
Yeah, it's so true. It sounds so backwards. Like you would think you want to just accept money from anyone who's willing to pay you, but if it's veering off the path of what you actually want to be doing and what makes you feel fulfilled and what your skill set is, you can give it a try. It's not going to hurt. Maybe you'll find out it's actually something you love doing, but chances are you're just going to look back and be like, I probably shouldn't have accepted this. Maybe I should have just stuck with what I'm trying to get really good at.
Right. And I think that you and I both care more about people and their mindset and their mental health than we're just like, make all this money because we want people to be healthy while they're making the money mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Like, we care more about that than I think anything else because you're human beings and we want you to make money, but be happy while doing it.
Yeah, so important. I love how much of this went back to fulfillment and things like that because we know we need money. We know life gets a little bit better if you're making a lot of money, but it's so far from everything that you need in order to live a fulfilling life. If you're making a ton of money but you're not fulfilled, I promise you would trade that for a lower salary and a very fulfilling life in a heartbeat. So
Yeah.
I love the general theme of this episode and that we keep going back to that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we definitely did not plan on doing that, but it's just important. I know plenty of wealthy, wealthy, rich people that aren't happy, and it's because money doesn't buy happiness, but thriving and doing what you're called to do and what you feel passionate about doing, it does bring you happiness, and that's my goal with people. Make money, have a fulfilling, financially stable life, but, like, be happy in the process.
Yeah, health, wealth, and happiness. That's what we're all after, and finding
Yes.
the right balance of those things. So I think that's all we got for today. So if you're looking for more ways to monetize your creativity and find more freedom in your life, subscribe, rate, review. Let us know what you want to hear about next. Drop comments, find us on social media, do what you need to do to get in touch with us because we are always looking for more feedback and more ways to deliver value to you guys. So if you want to find me on Instagram and TikTok, my username is Get Ahead with Nick. And if you want to find Michelle on Instagram and TikTok, her username is Michelle JH. Michelle with two L's, four E's, JH. You can find all of our socials and free resources down below in the episode description. So thanks for watching. Love you all, and we'll see you next time.